Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Jim Evanko, and my team is Josh Milby, Perry House, and Summer Khaled. This is our overview of the company Medtronic.
So first, we'd like to discuss the need for Medtronic to engage in a full strategic audit. After completing the full company analysis, our team has determined that there is a need to reevaluate current strategic initiatives. The reason being is the landscape in the medical device industry is ever changing. There are a higher focus on costs and increasing legal cost of regulation and compliance. Additionally, competition in the industry is fierce. There are several new market players with a wide variety of strategies that are brought to the table, and Medtronic must take a proactive approach to addressing their position in the market. Lastly, we'd like to discuss the uncomfortable amount of risk that Medtronic has exposed themselves to and provide alternatives as to how they could create a more sustainable business model. After reviewing 5 years of financial statements and conducting a full review of Medtronic's current strategic initiatives, the team has determined that there are a few areas of concerns that must be addressed. First, Medtronic must address the underperformance of their diabetes business unit. Growth of the diabetes unit has stagnated in recent years, while the global demand for diabetes products has increased at an astounding rate. Second, Medtronic must revise their growth strategy to include more of a focus on big emerging markets. Big emerging markets represent a large potential growth area that can't be ignored, and Medtronic must decide how they're going to penetrate those markets. Finally, Medtronic must pursue cost reduction strategies in order to maintain their competitive market position. As competition in the industry increases, margins are going to be suppressed. Medtronic must take a proactive approach to reduce costs to maintain those margins. In conducting a risk analysis, the team has identified several business, financial, and operational risks that are of concern to Medtronic's operations. The main business risks observed are the increasing levels of competition in the industry, the risk that Medtronic's technology might become obsolete, as well as the risk of product malfunction that could possibly damage the reputation of the company. As with any global company, Medtronic is also exposed to a multitude of financial risk as well. The main risk Medtronic is exposed to is the fluctuation of the exchange rates between the US dollar and the euro. Since Medtronic depends heavily on the US market for a large percentage of its revenue, a decrease in the value of the US dollar could be detrimental to Medtronic's financial performance. When it comes to operations, Medtronic is exposed to several substantial risk factors. The main risks being FDA approval and product development, component cost fluctuation, interruption of supply, and government laws and regulation. Being in the medical device industry, all of Medtronic's products are subject to a lot of rules and regulation. One of the underlying costs that isn't often discussed is the massive amount of research and development expenses that might not ever result in additional revenue streams. Since each product is contingent upon FDA approval, there's a lot of investment out there that might not ever see any return. Additionally, Medtronic must also be concerned about the component cost fluctuations and the interruption of supply. In short, Medtronic needs to have access to all their component costs of manufacturing at a reasonable price. For all of these reasons, Medtronic must take an active approach to mitigate their risk in order to maintain successful operation. The risk map above shows a mapping of Medtronic's risks in relation to the severity and frequency. As you can see, new product development, and the contingent approval by the FDA is one of Medtronic's most severe and most frequent risks that they are exposed to.
Who we are and what we stand for. Medtronic's overall mission states we are a technology company that aims to improve outcomes meaningful to patients. The company has 6 objectives to help achieve their mission. They include contributing to human welfare, directing growth in the areas of biomedical engineering, striving without reserve for the greatest possible reliability and quality, of course, to make a profit, and to recognize the personal worth of all employees and maintain good citizenship as a company. Currently, there are 12 members that comprise Medtronic's board of directors. The board is composed of multiple races, with 3 members being females. Currently, the chairman of the board is Omar Ishraq, and the CEO is Jeffrey Martha. The general environment analysis is a strategic tool used to identify all the external and internal elements that can affect the company's performance. The first segment is the demographic segment, which Medtronic reaches over 47,000 patients throughout the world and encompasses all races and ages and does not target one specific ethnicity or religion. The company aims to sell their product to all income levels regardless of class, education, or physical geographic location. The second is socio-cultural segment. The company believes in an inclusive, diverse, and equitable workplace. They have achieved 100% gender pay equity in several countries and 99% global equity. Women hold 38% of global management positions. They also have an ethnically diverse talent which represents 22% of management positions in the United States. Medtronic is striving to reduce its carbon footprint globally, and by 2020 it has made reductions in energy use, emissions, non-regulated waste, and water use. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, Medtronic has assisted its employees through financial grants and has increased its production of life-saving devices such as mechanical ventilators, pacemakers, heart valves, brain stents, and insulin pumps. In the political legal segment, you have adherence to different laws and trade regulations throughout the world. There is always constant litigation battles regarding patents, licenses, and occasional product recalls. Of course, lawsuits can be costly and result in a potential loss of company finances, their customer base, and a possible damage to the company image. In the economic segment, demand is inelastic for the medical device manufacturing industry, and people would still be in need of products even if a recession occurs in the future. Additionally, Medtronic faces fluctuating currency exchange rates. For the technological segment, Medtronic enjoys leading technology throughout its company, but must be aware of competitor advancements in this segment. However, the company must also continue to invest heavily in their research and development department to retain its competitive advantage. Globally, Medtronic is a global leader in this industry, and its greatest market potential are the globally emerging markets.
Hi, I'm Perry House, and I'll be discussing Porter's 5 forces. The 5 forces analysis is a general framework that companies can follow to evaluate their competitive strength and positioning within an industry. The model examines some of the external forces that will affect the competitive landscape of the industry. And the theory is based on the premise that 5 major forces determine the overall competitiveness and attractiveness of an industry. The 5 forces we'll be discussing are threat of new entrants, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, threat of substitutes, and lastly, rivalry among existing firms. Based on our analysis, the overall industry attractiveness for Medtronic was a moderate. In the next slides, we'll go into detail into how we came to that conclusion. The first 3 forces we'll look at are the threat of new entrants, bargaining power of buyers, and bargaining power of suppliers. The threat level for threat of new entrants is low or slightly moderate. This is due to the fact that 4 of the 6 categories are low, and 2 of the 6 are moderate. Those are listed below. Secondly, suppliers and buyers are both listed as a moderate threat. Suppliers for Smith & Nephew are within a highly regulated industry, and some suppliers have to provide very specialized or medical grade products. This gives them more bargaining power as there's less options for those products. For the buyers, healthcare providers typically want what's best for their customer and are willing to pay an extra price to get that result. And so Medtronic is able to take advantage of that mindset and increases prices slightly to remain competitive and provide profitability for their company. However, there are multiple options outside of Medtronic, and this makes them honest in their pricing strategy to ensure that they're competitive with their other options. The threat of substitutes represents a low threat to Medtronic, and the rivalry among existing firms represents a strong threat. For the threat of substitutes, medical devices are required to be highly specialized and equipped to handle very specific medical procedures. This means that substitutes aren't likely going to do the best job when it comes to those procedures, and the outcome of the procedures is very important, obviously, for the customer and for the patient, and so they want to make sure they get the best results possible, and medical devices are the best way to do that. Additionally, these companies have to be medical grade to be used within hospitals. They have to be cleared by the FDA and up to certain codes in whatever country they're trying to market in. So that limits the amount of substitutes that are available for certain procedures. Additionally, rivalry among existing firms is strong. There are many very large companies in the medical device arena. They are very successful and have very large profit margins. Medtronic itself is a large company, has through many acquisitions. They are remaining aggressive in the industry through rapid innovation, high marketing expenses, and differentiating the products very rapidly. They themselves are segregated into 22 different business units, and so they have very many different options to the customer to make sure they get the highest differentiation amongst the market.
The main competitors of Medtronic are Abbott Laboratories, Becton Dickinson, Boston Scientific, Globus Medical, Intuitive Surgical, Johnson & Johnson, Stryker Corporation, and Zimmer Biomet. Please note that Smith & Nephew and Wright Medical are not part of their main competitors. It is also worth noting that Wright Medical has recently been bought out by Stryker, but the deal is not yet finalized.
Next, we'll discuss the four arenas analysis. The four arenas is an effective way for strategic management plans to be developed based on the position of companies in the marketplace. The four arenas seeks to analyze the competitive environment by focusing on four major areas: cost quality, timing and know-how, stronghold, and deep pockets. A thorough understanding of how Medtronic is positioned within each arena will provide management with the tools necessary to determine how they should position themselves in the hyper-competitive market. First is the cost quality arena. As you can see, Medtronic is at the top right of the graph, above all other competition. This means they're known for their high quality products and their high price ticket. In the medical device industry, it's not necessarily a bad thing to be known for high price. They are known for their reliability and the features they can provide their customers, and also the lack of frustration and product failures they can expect to experience. This is a good word of mouth to have from your customers, and is good for any company within the medical device industry.
The following chart shows a full external factor analysis summary of Medtronic. Based off the external factors reviewed, Medtronic's total weighted score of 3.46 shows that their performance is above average for the industry. However, there is definite room for improvement. Some of Medtronic's major strengths include their high acceptance rates of products by the FDA, as well as the loyalty shown by medical professionals in the industry. Some things that Medtronic might need to work on include increasing demand for their diabetes group's products, as well as some of the other stagnant growth within some of their business units.
The internal environment, corporate structure. Medtronic's global headquarters is in Dublin, Ireland for tax purposes after their acquisition of the company Covidien. However, their executive and operational headquarters are in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The company has four main segments: cardiac and vascular, which is the largest, minimally invasive, restorative therapies, diabetes, which is the smallest. Medtronic believes deeply in its corporate culture and works hard to cultivate it. It does business in over 150 countries and has been listed as one of the world's 25 best multinational workplaces as published by Fortune magazine. Medtronic believes that a strong culture is the foundation for a strong company and for excellent healthcare provision. Medtronic has different types of corporate resources. Tangible resources for Medtronic include physical resources such as the company's finances, raw materials, finished goods, plants, and equipment. Approximately 43% of the manufacturing and research facilities are owned by Medtronic, and the balance is leased, which are things such as offices, manufacturing and research facilities, and warehouses, as well as transportation, data processing, and other equipment. Medtronic also has intangible resources, which includes the company's brand name, market and advertising expertise and know-how, and the company technologies. Technologies include things such as the patents and licenses and company software. Medtronic has many core competencies in. Well, the first one is their product differentiation through its innovation strategy. They have conducted over 370 clinical trials, the market and advertising of Medtronic's brand name, and the last, and what they're most proud of, is their strong corporate culture. Financial analysis. Financially, Medtronic has a strong global position in the medical device manufacturing industry. The fiscal year for Medtronic ends the last Friday of every April and fluctuates between 52 and 53 weeks. In 2019, total assets before equity and liability were almost $90 million, which is a slight decrease from its previous years. Revenue, however, has gradually increased over the years and is at $30.6 million. So current liabilities have also decreased and is roughly at $8 million. Additionally, the company boasted free cash flows of $5.9 million, and shareholders will return 78% of the free cash flow through dividends and net repurchase. Cost of capital was at 4.14, its PE ratio was at 17.24, and its ROE was 14.76 for the 3 months ending January 31st, 2020. The company is currently owned by many institutional holders in addition to the shareholders.
Here we talk about the value chain analysis and the primary activities. We listed Medtronic having above average primary activities in inbound logistics, operations, and outbound logistics. Medtronic is a global company, and with that comes various logistical complications, having to ship out product all over the world and maintain their quality standards. Medtronic does an excellent job in this because they maintain their quality and they are a market leader. Meanwhile, we listed their marketing and service after the sale as average. In the medical industry, surgeons rule the world. Surgeons basically decide what products they want to use and how they want to use them, even if they're not FDA approved. Medtronic tries their best to build relationships with these surgeons, hospitals, and medical institutions for their business. And since they are a market leader, they are listed as average. But since the surgeons and these hospitals have most of the power in these negotiations, we listed Medtronic as having average in these two areas. Here we talk about the secondary activities in the value chain analysis. We listed Medtronic as having above average human resource management. Medtronic prides themselves on corporate culture and diversity and was listed as one of Fortune magazine's best places to work. So we figured that was above average. As well as their technological development and procurement, we also list them as above average. As stated in the primary activities, they run a global operation, and with that they have high quality standards that their procurement and technological teams maintain while producing and selling their parts. As far as firm infrastructure goes, we list them as average. They do, yes, have a great corporate culture. However, the lack of diversity, which they pride themselves with amongst their board of directors, drop them down to average in this area.
The internal factor analysis, or the IFAS, attempts to organize all the information gathered during the full internal factor analysis. Medtronic's total weighted score of 3.57 shows that their performance is above average in the industry. Their two top internal strengths are the corporate culture, which they believe is a key quality to their success, and employee relations, which they have strong foundations relations in the industry. However, their two weaknesses are its dependence on the U.S. market and its limited success outside of its core business.
Medtronic operates in the medical device industry. They manufacture and procure medical devices which they then sell to hospitals and other medical institutions throughout the globe, in which they operate in over 140 countries. However, the majority of the business is in the US. The Medtronic business level strategy that they have chosen is a focused differentiation strategy. We listed this because Medtronic is massive, but they are focused on the medical device industry. As you see in the pie chart to the right, all those four areas are in the medical field, so we list them as focused. Naturally, Medtronic is projecting to have a growth strategy, just like every other company out there. They have grown 6% over the last 3 years, so this strategy does make sense. However, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we believe that Medtronic should do a stability strategy. Elective surgeries amongst the world have significantly decreased during the pandemic, so Medtronic needs to stay the course with a stability strategy. Their diversification strategy is related linked. As stated earlier, Medtronic operates within 4 different medical segments. and these are all in the medical industry. The employee's skills can be easily transferred amongst the different segments, which, in turn, means that they have a related linked diversification strategy. Medtronic has a hyper-competitive strategy in the cost-quality arena. In the price-quality matrix, it has been determined that Medtronic has the highest quality parts amongst any of the competitors in the field. Within this, they are both in the upper tier in both price and quality. And since their quality is superior and their prices are similar, this gives them their hyper-competitive advantage.
Next, we'll look at the timing and know-how, strongholds, and deep pockets arenas. For timing and know-how, Medtronic has a lot of experience and expertise that they've gathered through their many acquisitions. This allows them to tackle many obstacles that might come up and use their many resources to remain successful. Additionally, they're a worldwide brand and known by many hospitals and surgeons. They can use their advertising and marketing to influence the market timing and their reaction. For the strongholds arena, Medtronic has a strong grip on multiple industries. Like we said earlier, they have 22 different business units, and they're able to provide high-performance products with a lot of different options. Medtronic can move into any other business and leverage their large organization and strong brand to be successful. It will be very difficult for a competitor or a substitute company to come in and be successful where Medtronic is already successful. Lastly, Medtronic has very deep pockets. They are one of the most successful and profitable medical device companies in the world. Last year alone, they invested $2 billion in R&D and had a revenue of $30.5 billion. On their annual report, their CEO said that he was very proud of their annual free cash flow increase of up to almost $6 billion.
A SWOT analysis depicts a company's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Medtronic has many strengths, including a strong financial position globally, strong product portfolio, market share in its industry. It enjoys leading technology and innovation strategy. It also has a strong corporate culture, partnerships in its supply chain, and employs skilled and a diverse workforce. It has a few weaknesses, however, is that most of its sales and profits are generated in the United States, has long-term debt funding, it has encountered recent lawsuits and multiple FDA warnings, and strict regulations in the U.S. which adversely impacts its Continuing the SWOT analysis, Medtronic is presented with multiple potential opportunities to expand into emerging markets. It has opportunity to strengthen online presence, to expand its social media platform, to create products for increasing global population, to open new markets and expand into existing markets. However, it has a few threats. This first threat is from greater governmental scrutiny and stricter regulations, from fluctuating currency exchange rates, from change in political relationships and trade policies, from the increased competition in its industry, and from future patent and licensing litigation issues.
On this slide, we have the Summary Factor Analysis Summary, or the SFAS. Based on our analysis of both Medtronic's internal and external factors, and considering they have a weighted score total of 3.48, Medtronic is above the average for their industry. So the summary of Medtronic's company analysis shows that they're well equipped to remain successful for many years. They've done many things well through their acquisitions and their product offerings, and it shows in their profitability. Their market share and their profitability in the annual report shows that they are doing much better than the industry and that they have nothing to worry about for the foreseeable future. Internal and external analyses are also showing the same thing. Medtronic is an above average company, and they must continue to do that to remain successful. Financially, there's no major concerns, and there's many reasons to continue with the current strategy. It's been working for many years, and I believe they should continue to do it based on our analysis here. 3 actions that we have mentioned that Medtronic should pursue to remain successful is to increase diabetes profitability, capitalize on emerging markets, and control their labor costs.
The TOES analysis is a summary analysis that examines all of Medtronic's external opportunities and threats, as well as their internal strengths and internal weaknesses. The attempt of the TOES analysis is to develop dominant strategies, also known as a maxi-maxi strategy, that will leverage all of their external opportunities with their current internal strengths. Based off the TOES analysis, it is suggested that Medtronic continue to automate operations to reduce costs, that they invest in R&D to develop high-quality medtech products that they've become known for, and that they acquire companies in big emerging markets that have already established a name for themselves. The attached action plan itemizes each different action item and also provides a deliverable, the person responsible, and anticipated due date for the action item. As you can see, it is suggested that Medtronic develop a plan to incentivize sales personnel to focus on selling more of the diabetes products, to capitalize on the potential of big emerging markets and what that could do for their potential revenue, and to control labor costs to protect their profit margins.
Thank you for listening to our presentation of the Medtronic company analysis. Have a great rest of your day.